Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of the Power of Your Mind podcast. You are listening to episode 210. How do you say that the best? 210. I'm Victoria Gallagher, Law of Attraction hypnotist and #1 bestselling author of Practical Law of Attraction. Align yourself with the manifesting conditions and successfully attract your desires. I'm also the founder of HipTalk.com and HypnoCloud apps, which gives you access to over 500 hypnosis recordings right in the palm of your hand. So be sure to download that app from the app stores. And I'm here again today with my amazing co-host, comedy hypnotist, Jim Kellner.
Thank you, Victoria. Thank you, everyone. Look into my eyes and sleep and wake up.
All right. How are you today?
Good. I'm just thinking I was trying to find my pocket watch. I usually keep it in my suit coat in case I need it to hypnotize somebody with, but I didn't have it with me. I'm doing great. Having a good day. Thanks. How are you?
I'm good. Are they still hypnotizing people with pocket watches?
Not really. It's just sort of a fun, kind of a jokey thing sometimes, but really, I mean, just, as you know, I mean, just it's useful if you want to just have their attention focused on an object,
Yeah.
but it can just as easily be a light or a fingertip or anything else. So,
Or
yeah, pendulum. Right?
pendulum.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I could just take my necklace off and give them something swinging object.
It's so funny because it's I was just in Phoenix, as you know, and I met up with a bunch of other hypnotists, and they've all got like pendulums and like swirls everywhere. Like they've got like bracelets with swirls or necklaces with swirls. And I'm sort of like I'm the anti-cliche hypnotist.
I hear you. I do.
But it's
I absolutely hear you. I don't have anything swirly.
but so here's the thing too. Even my promotional materials, I specifically did not have any of these, like, this or, like this kind of a thing. But every time I do a show, if they get a hold of my promo picture, they put some kind of swirl or they give me some, and I'm like, I got to stop resisting it, because really, for marketing purposes, I guess it's something makes it easy for people to identify you. But boy, I didn't want to be one of those corny, kind of guys or whatever. But I think it's backfiring.
I mean, there's so many preconceptions already when it comes to hypnosis, and especially, stage hypnosis. I mean, I get it all the time in just like private practice. People are like, it sort of has a double-edged sword,
Mhm.
because on the one hand, it, it gets people's attention. It shows them the power of the mind, and, a lot of, and honestly, it's like the best advertisement for hypnosis. But at the same time, a lot of people like kind of come in and they're like, is that real? Does that really work? And of course
Yeah.
they believe, they're wondering if it really works because of the perception of what
Right.
they believe is going on in the minds of the hypnotized.
Right. Yeah. It's such a difficult, like you said, it is just a double-edged sword. It's such a thing. And I do both. I do the hypnotherapy and the stage. So I'm kind of like caught in between. Um, but I mean, I like to think of it as like, hypnosis is just a tool. It's kind of like a hammer. I can use a hammer to nail a nail in, but I can also use it to take a nail out. So it's
Hmm.
a multi-function tool, is what I say.
Yes. Yes, I love that. Well, speaking of multifunction tools, I think that it's very similar to meditation being such a multi-function tool, because there's just so many things that there's so many different ways to meditate, and there's so many different benefits that you can get out of meditation. And, today we're going to be talking about why meditation is so important when it comes to manifestation. But you know what? Before we even get into that, because we started talking and I segued from hypnosis into meditation, how do you usually, I'm sure people ask you this all the time, or at least I get asked all the time, like, what do you believe are the differences between hypnosis and meditation? Just for anybody who's like, I mean, I'm a hypnotist and also a certified meditation instructor, so I
Yeah.
do both. So what do you, what do you usually, how do you usually define this or describe the differences?
Um, it's interesting you say that because I did have somebody, a client sign on with me recently. This was a doctor, very analytical, but
Uh-huh.
open-minded, analytical, which is fine. As you know, analytical folks can sometimes have a tough time with hypnosis because they're analyzing the whole process and kind of keeps
Yeah.
them from going into trance. But
I'm kind of that
uh,
way myself,
yeah, me
actually.
too. Oh, it took me. I remember when I first started listening to hypnosis. I mean, talking, oh God, 30 years ago, and they would do the Elman eye lock, and I'd be
Yeah.
like, "Wait, am I supposed to open them or not open them? I can open them. What do you do?" It's
Yes. Yes.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you were saying that you have your analytical doctor
Yeah.
client.
And so the thing is, and what he said was that he'd gone for hypnosis. He only had one session, and
Mhm.
he agreed that that probably wasn't enough. With
Uh-huh.
science with somebody else, and said that it just sounded like a guided meditation to him. And I was thinking, I was like, I think a lot of times hypnosis sounds like guided meditation. It really does.
Mhm.
Um, I think the difference is that and this is sort of a blurred line now that I've there's some apps out there that have a lot of different kinds of guided meditation, and they're
Mhm.
not all just on inner peace and you know guiding you to focus on your breathing or a body scan or something like Vipassana or something like this.
Mhm.
Um, and so there's more goal oriented, and that's one of the big things that I would say is that maybe it's more goal oriented to things that wouldn't necessarily be covered in like meditation usually, I guess.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's I don't have a great, I'll be happy to hear yours in a second. But I also think that like in hypnosis, I will use a lot of embedded commands. I will use um, various NLP techniques thrown in there. So that's kind of what the way I see it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I agree with you. I think there's a lot of blurred lines these days, especially I think meditation or the terminology of meditation has kind of become very almost unadulterated and not in a bad way, but just that what people describe as guided meditation, I mean, really is ultimately the same thing as a guided hypnosis. I mean, you're being guided by a guide. You're not going to, there's not one department in your mind that is the department of meditation.
Yeah,
And then the department of self hypnosis and the department of hypnosis. You're going to ultimately the same
right.
place in your mind. I think hypnosis, if you're being instructed by a live hypnotist, you're going to tend to be able to let go more easily and go to deeper stages. And a hypnotist can actually technically get you into deeper and deeper stages by doing, testing and all of that. But the way so guided hypnosis and guided meditation are essentially the same thing. When I talk about meditation for all intents and purposes, I think of it more of like you are meditating on a topic. And that topic could be your breath, it could be an object, it could be a manifestation, something that you are wanting to focus your attention on. So that's where, to me, meditation and hypnosis really kind of meet is on that focus. It's really that focused awareness. Now, there's so many different kinds of meditation. There's mindfulness meditation where like you're just kind of aware of everything all at the same time, aware of your surroundings, doing all of that, where you're just aware of your breathing, or you're just really trying to clear your mind. But like when it comes to those apps, and our apps are no exception. I think the two are really, really similar. If I call something hypnosis, I usually take somebody through a very formal trance, either, the progressive muscle relaxation, for, good 5 to 7 minutes, or, the element induction, or, some type, do a deepener, and that kind of thing. If I call something meditation, for all intents and purposes, I'll just have them close their eyes, take a few deep breaths, and then you're there. And I won't necessarily feel the need to like take them into trance. And so that's kind of how I personally distinguish between the two. Like, when it comes to my app, I have my guided
Mhm.
meditations, and then I have my hypnosis sessions. So I don't know, what are your thoughts about that definition, those definitions?
That makes sense. But I think that what's going on with some of these apps that are out there is I think that like it's hypnotists are just putting up hypnosis and not calling it hypnosis.
Yes, and I think
um,
hypnotists do kind of a little bit of a disservice by not
yeah,
calling what they do
yeah,
hypnosis, or,
yeah.
they almost shy away from it because, it gets a bad it gets a bad rap, or people like are more, they're more afraid of hypnosis rather than going into meditation. There was actually a time in my life where I was actually afraid to meditate.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
It was when I was probably 18 or 19. It was the first time I actually started taking an interest in meditation. And I went to this book, and I was living in LA at the time. I went to this book called The Bodhi Tree, where they just had all these various different, it was actually kind of like a spiritual, metaphysical type of bookstore.
Mm,
And you could buy, they had all these different sections there on all the different religions. And but there was some place where, they had a section on doing meditation. And so, just from that, coming in and thinking it has something to do with any kind of religious thing,
mm,
it was a little bit like, oh, what's going to happen when I
right.
go deep, when I go
Right.
within, like, what am I going to find out? Is this going to be scary? Am I going to meet somebody that,
Hmm.
and, I don't know what it was, and then, and it's just it's so interesting too, because then you close your eyes and you're like, what, is something supposed to happen? Am I doing it right? And there's just
Right.
so many questions that people have when it comes to meditation. And it's really just, it's actually the simplest thing that we can do, but it's
Mm.
not as easy. It's simple, but it's just one of those simple but not easy. And so I just just kind of wanted to come on and talk about some guidelines that would really help a person who's just getting to the point where they're wanting to create that meditation practice for themselves. Because I think personally, there's like almost no better habit that you can create, especially if you're on the path to manifestation. Just being able to bring your mind to a focus, and to calm, and to visualize, and to have that ability to bring yourself into any state that you want. It's just so key to being able to manifest. And so, I had, actually 10 or 12, maybe 12, possible tips that you could use to help you to, to stick to a daily practice. And the very first tip actually is making it a daily practice. Because, if you just try to do, something like once a week or every once in a while, and you don't really have a schedule, if you don't have it like scheduled into your day, you're probably not going to do it, and you're probably not going to get much better at it. And, so making something, setting a daily schedule, like, I'm going to get up, and, for me, I get up first thing I do in the morning. Well, it's this kind of like the third thing I do in the morning.
Okay.
But it's very close to the first thing I do in the morning. I get up, I drink a whole glass of water, I go downstairs and turn on the coffee. I knowing that I have coffee being made and then I'm going to be able to enjoy this cup of coffee after I am done with my
Mm.
meditation is just like gold. It's amazing. I don't know. So do you meditate every day? Like, or, what are your thoughts about that?
It's definitely my goal. I wanted to say too, you were talking about when you were 18. I mean, back when we were kids, like I think it was just hippies and monks that meditated, wasn't it? I mean,
Yeah, it
so
wasn't
it's
like it wasn't a big thing that you heard. I mean, these days almost everybody's heard of or has
right.
tried or, knows somebody who's
Yeah.
who's meditated. Back then when I was doing it, I mean, this is like in the 80s, so mid 80s that I, tried it for the first time and it was not, it was definitely a very oh, yeah, I remember I was approached by this oh, what is this cult group or whatever that a lot of people are involved with, and when I told them that I meditated, like I was disqualified, like I couldn't join their
Oh,
thing because I meditated. And the reason why is because they just didn't want you to have control over your own mind.
oh,
They
interesting. So
wanted
get
to
out
be
there.
able to have control
Yeah.
over your mind and know that you were going to be, indoctrinated into their whole regime.
Yeah. Wow. So get out there and meditate, folks. You won't be you know, subjected to the cults. um,
Exactly. Exactly.
you know, um, I have. So for about the past, so number one, I've wanted to be a meditator since I was probably in my teens because I was one of those weird kids that was just into weird stuff. Sounds like you were too.
Hmm.
Um, um, but I just never got around to it. That was the thing. But by about 12, 15 years ago, I got in a regular habit. And there have been times when I'll get off track and maybe I don't meditate every single day, or maybe I even miss, gosh, weeks, months. But I always come back to it.
Yeah. And do you notice the difference between when you're on a regular schedule and when you're, kind of like off when you just get back to it?
Well, if I'm honest, I'm not sure that I can attribute it necessarily to the meditation or the fact that I'm on my routine.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the other thing is I discovered about 15 years ago was that I'm very resistant to routines,
Mm-hmm.
and lists and being organized because I think it stifles my creativity. But what I discovered was I actually have more time, more energy, and well, for being creative when I have a routine. And if I don't have a routine, I don't get anything done. So it could just be that because I'm on the routine, I notice I feel better, I get more done.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you talked about doing it in the morning. So for years, it took me, I couldn't figure out when to do it because I knew I wanted to do it first thing, but I also want to have coffee. See, I can't wait like you can. I want the coffee right now. So I decided what I would do is so finally for about the last year, I make the coffee, I go for a walk with my coffee, I come home, then I meditate.
I like that. You know, it's interesting. And I'm thinking about either adding another time in the day or changing the time of the day because there have been times when I haven't done it and I have to do it. Like I'm already at day, I think 460 consecutive days on my insight timer. So there's just like no way I can not do it now. And so there
Yeah,
have been a few times where I don't do it first thing in the morning. I'm like unmeditated right at as we speak right now. I've got to do it later on
unmeditated.
today. Unmeditated. This is all caffeine, baby, right now.
All right.
But so I'm on that 460. Probably by the time the show airs, I'll be like at 500.
Nice, nice.
But I have found for myself sometimes that doing it in the afternoon is even better. And so
Mm,
I think you do have to kind of be honest with yourself, and I have to be honest with myself that you have to do it at a time that really works best for you. Because I sometimes I'm so groggy at that time that it's a lot harder for me to stay focused
mm.
than if I did it like later in the afternoon. So I like what you said there because, I'm human too. And I've been doing this thing, every day at 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. And I am starting to wonder if, doing it, but at the same time, all I will say is about doing it at the same time every day, whether it's in the morning or the afternoon or the evening or whenever you do it. There is something to be said for doing things like that at the same time every day, because your mind actually
Yeah.
kind of starts to prepare itself for that, like unconsciously. And so when your mind starts to prepare itself unconsciously for that, you're just going to be able to like already go to that state rather than having to prepare to go into that state. You're already going to, be there.
Yeah. And for me, so what I like to tell people is I'm very disciplined because I'm not disciplined. And
Mm,
so um, for me, I don't, if I don't do these things in this certain order, it's likely I won't get it done. And so this
mhm.
is what I've discovered about myself for like, and it's been about the last year when I figured out this way to do this, and drives my wife crazy because she'll say, "Did you feed the cats yet?" I'm like, "No, I got to do my stuff
Mhm.
before. I can't take time. I have to walk first.
Mhm.
I meditate, and then I write. And because if I don't like write, because I'll tell you, so this morning I was kind of lazy about getting out of bed. I did the stupid thing, started checking email, Facebook. Next thing you
Mm.
know, I don't want to go for a walk. I'm like, I'll go
Worst thing you
later.
can do.
Yeah, right. It is. And then I go, well, and I'm not going to meditate. I'll walk later, meditate later. So I'm like, I did sit down and write though. So at least I did that. But it was, when
Good
I
for
do it,
you.
when I try to give myself time to think. I get out of bed, make the coffee, go for the walk, meditate. Right. It makes it so much easier.
Yes, definitely. And I like that you said that you you discipline yourself because you're not disciplined, or
Totally.
and I agree with that. I think you have to kind of set yourself up. And even if it's just, and this is going to go into my number two tip is really to start small. If you don't think that you have to sit there for 20 minutes or half an hour or an hour and meditate like a monk, to feel like you're actually meditating. You can just you want to really think about meditation no different than you think about exercising your body. This is exercise for your mind. This is helping you uh, to gain more patience in life. That's one of the things that I have become, is probably the most patient person. I still have a little ways to go, but I mean, I have really learned the art of patience, because when you sit there and, look, aren't you ever like tempted, especially during the longer meditations? Aren't you ever tempted to say, screw this, screw this, let me just get up and go do
Oh,
something else right now?
oh, are you kidding me? All the time. And I mean, and sometimes I actually do. Sometimes I'm just like, I just can't do it. I'll do 5 minutes. And when I started, even 2 minutes was
Mhm.
excruciating. So I understand if you're out there going, I can't do it. Believe me, I know it seems easy. You sit and do nothing. Oh, it's excruciating.
Yeah, it's challenging. And this is the work though,
Yeah,
controlling your thoughts is the work. It's challenging because, you just have to, again, it's like we just kind of think that we have to pay attention to every thought that comes through our mind. And if we do think if we do pay attention to every thought that comes through our mind, we're just never going to be able to get to the next level. So we have to learn, it's not even necessarily controlling the thoughts, but just letting them go. And so you could start meditating literally in 30 seconds. Just give yourself 30 seconds. You can give yourself a minute. You can give yourself 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Work yourself up to 8 minutes. You don't even have to go in like little increments, like let go of all the rules, what you think that you're supposed to do, and just build from there. And some days you're not going to feel like doing it, just even on those days. I mean, there have been a couple of days just so I can like keep my keep my consistency going. I've literally meditated for 1 minute. It's like, oh my God, I didn't
Yeah.
meditate today. It's 11:50. I need to get this
Yeah.
meditation in.
I've done that. Yeah. Yeah. And, you talked about going to the next level. If as I've listened to lots of interviews and read lots of books about famous people and stuff, one of the things that stands out. Well, there's two things that stand out that so many of these people talk about. Number one is exercise, regular exercise, and meditation. So many of them, even if they don't call it meditation, they call it something. And we're talking about throughout centuries. Even whatever his name, Beethoven, and people like that. They mention something that is meditation, but they don't necessarily call it meditation.
Yeah, definitely. It's so, and there's like so much, there's 1,000 benefits. We couldn't even possibly get to all of them, but it's going to enhance your creativity. It's going to help you to focus. It's going to help you to have more patience. It's going to help you to be kinder. It's going to help you to come up with new ideas. It's going to, you might have a spiritual experience. It's going to actually it can increase your health. That you can lower your blood pressure, your heart rate, all of these things are, just so many amazing benefits, physical, spiritual, mental, and, just having that, just taking that time for yourself. It's amazing. It's so relaxing and it just feels good. And speaking of feeling good, last week we were talking about comfort zones. Well, here's number 3 is you want to meditate in a comfortable position. Now, because meditation isn't always comfortable, but you want to get to yourself into as comfortable of a position as you possibly can, because ultimately, you do want to stay in that same position. You don't want to be like moving around. Now, I'm guilty. The one temptation that I can't avoid almost at all costs, is when Velvet comes in the room.
You're only human. Come on.
Velvet comes in the room and it's like, come here, Velvet, sit on mommy's lap for meditation. I have to stop doing that because it's like that is a little bit of a distraction, but look, I'm only human, like you said. I'm only at my own level. But if you can if you can sit comfortably and sit still, you're just going to get so much more out of that. And but you want to start off in as comfortable as a position as you can, so you can stay still and keep everything as still, for as long as you possibly can.
Yeah, you don't have to be in full lotus.
Right.
Just sit on your couch.
Exactly. There's been days, a lot of times I have my meditation chair, and so I do sit cross-legged in my meditation chair. But there's days, I'm stiff from having a good workout the night before or whatever, and I'll sit in a different way that makes me feel comfortable. So got to get comfortable. Number 4 is you want to think about your breathing. So this, to me, that breathing is the key to meditation. Focusing on your breath and making your breath the focus of your meditation, it just has a lot of advantages, because you have your breath with you everywhere. You don't have to have any special tools or any special rocks or any special, you don't even have to have your meditation timer or anything. Like literally just, you can meditate anytime you want by literally just noticing and observing your breathing. And so just using that as a tool for meditation, I've just found, observing the breath, not deliberately breathing, in any particular count. That's just another way to relax. But meditating on, like, well, how does my breathing feel? Is it hot or cold? Um, is it slow or fast? And not really trying to alter it, but just observing it.
Yeah, I remember I was teaching English as a foreign language, doing like some tutoring, and I had one of my students was a Buddhist monk, and when I first met him, I said, "Oh my God, how do you guys do that? You guys meditate for hours and hours. How do I do it?" He said, "You just focus on your breath." Like,
Mm.
sounds so easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just focus on the breathing. In and out, in and out.
Definitely. Yeah. Breath is a great tool. And they teach us that, I did my 10-day Vipassana meditation, and that's like 10 hours a day for 10 days. And it's a complete silent retreat. And day one, day one is literally just focus on just the nostril area.
Hmm.
And like literally for 10 hours a day. That's all you get to do. You just focus there.
Lord.
Yeah, you don't get to change your focus until like day 4. And then day 4 you get to like kind of expand a little bit, but it's that is an enlightening experience for sure.
That's
So
out of my
number
comfort zone. I need to do that.
yes, yes. And and you have the whole room of people around you, so you also have all the possible distractions and things like
Right.
that. And so it's really really a wonderful way to um just really help you to learn how to focus and control your mind. So number 5 is tip is to use a timer. And Jim and I I know you like using the Insight timer. I like using the Insight timer, but even if you don't have, and I'm eventually going to have a timer on my app, so I'll be able to talk about that and actually use. I'll start from 1, just like everybody else
Cool.
with
Nice.
that. But even before that happens, you can, even if you don't use that, you can use the timer on your phone and just set it and have an intention. Like don't break into meditation and break out of it anytime you feel like it. You want to like literally just set a timer. Don't worry about the time. Meditate until the end, and then come out when the timer goes off. And that way, if you set a timer, you have a lot less temptation to look up and what time is it? How long have I been meditating? And we've all been there. We've all, like,
Oh yeah.
y-
Did I forget to press the button? How long's it been?
right? And you sort of like softly open your eyes and like take a little peek down at the timer. Oh, there's still 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
So, all right. And here's another really good tip. And I think this is a really good habit for us all to get into, because it just helps us to, it's one thing to do this at the beginning of the day or the end of the day or the middle of the day, but what about actually doing it throughout the day, meditating for 1 hour per every waking period? I mean, oh my God, what if you just reminded yourself every hour, just going to close my eyes, set the timer for 1 minute, and then now you're present again.
Yeah, I think you said meditate for 1 hour every week. You mean 1 minute for every hour.
Oh, no, it's literally say an hour. Yeah. Meditate
Yeah.
for 1 hour every hour. Meditate for one
So
minute.
that's a really interesting idea. I like that. It's sort of like they're talking about, maybe exercising, for 30 minutes a day isn't really as good as breaking it up and going through and getting some activity throughout the day. I think the same thing for our mind, right? We need to take those little timeouts throughout the day. It's a good idea.
Exactly. And it's just going to get you in the habit. It's going to keep you focused, and it's going to keep you relaxed throughout the day. It's just, there's so many benefits to it. And like my Fitbit app reminds me, I mean, if I haven't moved for an
Mhm.
hour,
Right. Yeah.
you have that?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, if I haven't moved for an hour, it's going to remind me to get those 250 steps in. So get the 250, you could use that. Like, I mean, maybe you are moving, but if you haven't moved and your Fitbit reminds you to do your 250 steps, do your 250 steps, and then sit down and meditate for 1 minute just to balance that out.
Good idea. I like that. I'm gonna implement that.
Cool. Cool. And so number 7, and I hope everybody's writing these down and will take at least one of these tips and implement them to improve their manifestations through meditation. And so, number 7 is to experiment. And I guess that's sort of what I was alluding to earlier when I was talking about how I tend to meditate at the same time every day. Well, maybe experiment with different times, or experiment with different ways to meditate, or experiment with different places in your house where you meditate, or experiment with how you meditate. Maybe you count your breaths, just to start off, just to give your mind something different to do. And so you just want to experiment with all the different places, times, ways. There's a ton of different meditation techniques.
Mm,
And so you can
true.
find one that works best for you. It's not just one way.
Yeah, there's even movement meditation. So if you're somebody that thinks you can't sit still, then go do a movement meditation. Although I would say, I always, for myself, I find those things that I find the most difficult, I probably need more of. So if you have trouble sitting still, you probably need to sit still a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And if you don't have trouble sitting still, move. Go ahead.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So, number 8 is going to be reading about meditation. And I think that this is a really great thing for anybody who's has any doubts about meditation, or you could be on the total opposite end of the spectrum. Maybe you think you know everything that there is
Mm,
to know about meditation, and this is just going to help to expand your knowledge. But I think it also helps you to get inspired and get motivated to meditate. Like, have you ever, kind of going back to the whole running marathon things? I think I know everything there is to know about running, but whenever I
mhm.
watch a YouTube video about somebody running a marathon, or I read a book about running, that just helps inspire me, and it gives and just gives you more information at the same time. So there's tons of ways to learn about meditation and learn more about it. And it's very interesting to learn all the different styles and techniques and ways, and people's stories about meditation. So just making learning about it, even if you read just one page a day, as a meditation, even reading can be its own version of meditation. You could turn reading into a meditation if you do it in a meditative way. And then number 9 is to practice patience. Because part of the whole point of meditation is creating that patience, that time for yourself. And it takes time and it takes effort, and it takes diligence to effectively meditate for the longer periods. And to be honest, I mean, the longer you meditate, ultimately in the end, the more value and benefit you are going to get out of it. So you want to really be patient with yourself as you are building your practice of meditation and learning to meditate for longer and longer periods of time. Just take your time and just focus on, just be patient with yourself as you're learning how to do this. Because like, you might feel like you're not doing it right, but you can't do it wrong. As long as you sit down with the intention to clear your thoughts and focus your attention, you're doing it right.
I can't agree more with this. Just be patient with yourself, and just, again, understand that you don't start off being able to go to sit still for 20 minutes and not pay attention to your thoughts. You don't. I mean, maybe some people do, but I think the vast majority of us, we struggle. 2 minutes, literally, for me, when I started, was painful. I mean, it was like, oh, how much longer? It's been 30 seconds, I mean, you can do this. And especially, like we talked about, I think in the last episode, we talked about, that's just not me. That's just not who you are maybe right now, but you can be. It doesn't mean you
Absolutely.
can't.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's again, I mean, it's such an amazing it's almost like if you say that you're not going to meditate, it to me, I mean, it's almost like saying I'm not going to exercise. I'm not going to work out my body. You got to work out your mind and your body in order to be an efficient, effective, productive human being. And so number 10, and I think this is really, really key, is that you want to like think about meditating everywhere, wherever you are is is an ideal time and an ideal condition to practice meditation. And what I mean by that is like there are a lot of times where meditation isn't ideal. Like you might have the cats are crying in the background or the kids are crying in the background or there's something noisy happening on going on outside and you might say, "Oh, well this I can't meditate because there's too much." But that's an actually even better time to meditate.
Yeah,
Whenever you're
right.
stressed, there's something going on at work and the air conditioning's broken or whatever it is, that you're stuck in traffic. I mean, you're not necessarily going to close your eyes to meditate if you're stuck in traffic, but if you're stuck in traffic, that's a brilliant time to meditate because now all these things I always look at it like, and I always remind my husband, like if we're out someplace and there's just some thing that you have to be patient for, you're waiting in line or something unexpected happens and maybe you're in a lot longer of a line than you were supposed to be, you're waiting in line to get your ticket for the airplane, or you're sitting next to somebody that doesn't smell so great on the airplane or whatever it is. This is an opportunity for you to tune inward and just be and see if you can get yourself to be completely at ease and at peace and in the moment and present with whatever situation life presents you, because life isn't always going to be perfect and you're not always going to be. So the more you practice this meditation and the more you take the opportunities that life gives you to practice meditation, and I always look at like, being in those scenarios where things are all chaotic, that's like an opportunity to just be and center and use this skill to help yourself to and you know what, as soon as you surrender to it, it's all going to go away. It's all going to ultimately get better. The traffic is just going to like go and you're going to get where you want to go and everything's ultimately going to open up and feel more pleasant for you. You can experience these things in a stressed way, or you can experience these things and just be like, okay, this is happening and I'm okay, and be peaceful, be peaceful and be compassionate for yourself.
You were talking, so I would say that this actually has made a noticeable impact in my life when I'm actually meditating or being mindful in those stressful situations. I'm not sure that I can quantify that my daily meditation, but and I'd love to give a shout out to Dr. Richard Nongard's TEDx talk on
Mm,
mindfulness. I mean, to say it changed my life is not an understatement. When I finally understood, I'd been meditating for 10 years or longer before I watched the TEDx, and it really just clarified that process of just focusing on your breathing. The traffic's going bad, some jackwagon just cut you off. I mean, you can go into those thoughts that we want to go into. I want to kill him, he's an idiot, and all these things, or you can focus on your breathing. you know and it
absolutely.
just made such a difference for me.
Yeah, definitely. And then, just another I've got two more guidelines or tips, if you will, to help you to meditate better. And of course, I'm going to have to plug my HypnoCloud app because you can use a meditation app such as Insight Timer, which I do. Okay. And or you can, choose from a variety of meditations in my HypnoCloud app. Now, this kind of gets us into more the guided meditations versus the silent meditation, but you can get so much value by just being guided. If your mind, if you're just having one of those days where like your mind can't really focus on your breathing or the silence, then just allow yourself, I would say it's just as good to allow yourself that time to just be guided to think about whatever it is. Think about abundance, think about peace, think about whatever it is that you're wanting to manifest. And all those guided meditations are available for you in my HypnoCloud app.
Get it? It's great.
Thank you. And last but not least, if you're listening to this podcast before the end of July 2022, another amazing way to meditate is to take a live meditation class and meditate together as a group. And actually, that's advice that you could use at any time, but more particularly during my Law of Attraction Intensive, we do tons of variety of different meditations that are all geared toward manifesting. And, we do meditation, we do hypnosis, we have a lot of fun manifesting meditative techniques. And there's just something really special that happens when you meditate together as a group. There's like even more special energy that's created that just makes that meditation that much stronger. And like everyone is sort of focused on this intention at the same time. There's just something magical about that. So I highly recommend that you check out the Law of Attraction Intensive and learn about meditating together as a group, and of course, change your life in the process.
Absolutely. When you're in there in a group, it's much easier. It's much more difficult to just quit early.
That's true too. That is true too. We have ways of helping you to keep your eyes closed. Duct tape, anyone? No, okay.
Yeah.
So that's basically it. Those are 12 guidelines. I hope at least you found a few of those beneficial and helpful and helping you to build that habit of meditating daily, because meditation is going to enhance your life in so many ways, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And, just be patient with yourself, take these tips, use whatever works for you, because it honestly, it can take years before you ever really become as effective and efficient at it as you really want to be. But you're going to notice benefits. You're going to notice benefits even after doing it consistently for just a few days. So take it slow and enjoy the process.
Awesome. Victoria, I want to ask you if you'll post a picture of your meditation chair for everyone.
Oh, absolutely. Yes,
Got
I
to see
will.
that. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I will absolutely post that. Where should I post that? I'll post it on Facebook or
Yeah, one of the groups or
yeah,
something. Yeah, absolutely.
definitely. I will do that. Yeah,
Awesome.
my whole meditation room, my whole
Ooh,
setup. Yeah.
wow. All right, cool.
That should have been another one of my tips. So we'll go 13, is to create
Mm.
a special environment for yourself that just feels so cozy that you just love going in there. It just invites you in, because I have one of those and that definitely helps.
Nice.
So, well, thank you guys for listening to the Power of Your Mind podcast. I hope you got value out of today's podcast, and be sure to send me an email, leave a review, let us know what you like, what you don't like, and we will be sure to, just continue to tailor this toward your needs and what you're looking for. And thank you, Jim, for being a great co-host.
Thanks, Victoria.
Thank you. And tune in next week to the Power of Your Mind podcast. In the meanwhile, happy manifesting.